start to put tension on my string drawback, I was like, okay, I'm gonna switch.
It's him. You can look at the horns when he's dead. I'm in the zone. Let the arrow go is perfect.
So when they lose their front shoulders, that's how you know they're smoking.
Went about 5-10 more yards. He probably went 20 yards total. Tipped them. We tried getting back up. And I saw him pull up.
We rushed 14 rods that night. We got like 156 and something like that. And then the next day we came up to 163 even.
You're listening to the White Cat Outdoors podcast, bringing you to the table where we talk about the outdoors.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? You got White, Nick, and Tom all here for episode 76. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we got a good one today because it's almost next season. But before we talk about that, Nick wants to give a little shout out. Congratulations to one of our buddies.
Yes, so congratulations to Hunter Klobuchar. He's been on the podcast a couple times. He was, I think, episode 4, and then I don't remember what other episode he was on.
It was a little later.
But we did an episode with Hunter. He is part owner in the company Fish Gods, and their mission is to clean up our waterways and help prevent litter and microplastics into the streams. And he and his partner Tyler came up with basically a trash can to like keep clipped to you while you're fishing or hiking, biking, anything. It's super compact. It's made of recycled materials, and it's just an easy way to quickly see garbage, pick it up, put it in your little garbage can that just clips to your vest. And they are now selling that product at shipping, and just wanted to say congratulations to Hunter over at Fish Gods, and good luck with the future endeavor with Fish Gods.
For sure. And all you listeners, make sure you run over and buy one, because who doesn't love cleaning up the planet?
Exactly. So, yeah, other than that, guess we could just jump right into it. We are going, because it's so close to next season, we're going to jump right into a little like pre-season podcast. Kind of maybe little expectations for the year, goals, and I actually had a few questions from our buddy Dan LaFuria on actually how to avoid them. So
opposite of hunting.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of sprinkle in how we're going to find them, and also use that to show you how not to find them and stay away from them. So without further ado, I guess we'll just jump right in with our goals for the year, because I know we've already done like a safety podcast,
I think we can
if you
skip that part.
Yeah, so for me personally, I've got a really nice black phase already in the books. So this year primarily I'm after a yellow phase. I want a really nice yellow phase rattlesnake.
We haven't found like a big yellow phase yet. I think
your dad's was probably the biggest.
No, I think Morgan's was, like 44, 45.
Yeah, which the limit's 42. Mine alive, we got like 48 and a half. So like stretched out, that one was over 50, which that was a big snake.
Yeah, it was.
But anyways, so for me, definitely a yellow phase. If I keep a black phase, it's going to have to be an absolute pig, like 55 plus live.
It's a monster. I don't think you're going to find it.
Probably, I might.
Never know.
I got some time.
Yeah, you do.
But primarily yellow phase. And I really would, if I have the time, which may happen, I'd really like to put some time into finding a copperhead.
I know Jared really wants to find a copperhead this year.
Yeah, find the birch trees.
Yeah, the white perch.
White perch.
So, that's, I guess, just to give everybody an idea, there's no way of, like, targeting a yellow or black phase. It's kind of,
whatever you
they're
find.
They're about equal amounts we've found, yellows and blacks. I just think the yellows are a prettier snake just because you can see their pattern better.
Yeah.
Unless that one black phase, Jared, I think his first snake.
Yeah, it was his first one.
It almost looked fake. It was just so deep black.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was a really cool snake.
So
if that one was like a full grown, if that was a legal snake, that would have been a sweet one to have, because it was jet black and you could just barely see hints of gold, and it was a cool looking snake.
So hoping we can land that. But other than that, I just enjoy handling rattlesnakes. It's unlike any other outdoor activity I've been a part of, I guess. It's just a neat thing that not a whole lot of people do. So I enjoy collecting that data for the state and reporting how many snakes I handle, what size they were. Found a den last year. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, that's, I guess, it for me.
I've found a few snakes that were legal. I just haven't kept one yet. So I guess I'm just looking for either a yellow or a black, but it's just got to be the right one.
Not a lot of rattles.
Yeah, because both of the ones that I found like a 44 and one that was almost 46 that were both, obviously legal. They were males. And one was a yellow, one was a black, but they had nothing for rattles. So I was like, I don't really.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. It's almost, I kind of look at that as like brow tines on a buck.
Yeah.
Like it's not a requirement, but it sure does look nice.
Yeah. You don't want to not have it.
Yeah. I got lucky with my big one. It had, I think, 8 rattles, which that's say
respectable.
I would say that's right around.
It's like a 4-inch brow tine.
Yeah, I would say it's average to slightly above average, I guess, from what we're finding. I feel like 6 is the number we keep seeing. Jared's was up at 14, which is just...
Yeah, and we found another one that was a small snake that I think had 13 or something.
Yeah,
we found
that
some
wasn't
that were...
legal.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's an old snake. I mean, it takes quite a long time for them to get that many rattles, and that's if they don't break any off.
Yeah.
So... But yeah, that's another, I guess I forgot to mention that. That's part of my, well, I get, if I had one that was 55 live, I don't know if I'd care as much about the rattles.
I think if it was that big, I'd keep it if it had 3 rattles. I wouldn't care at that point because that thing's huge, and that would have to be, like a freaking bigger than a pop can.
Oh, mine was
you're
a pop
40,
can.
Yeah. It was a big snake.
Yeah.
I always, like, once we started rattlesnake hunting and catching some and, like, seeing them, I started laughing to myself because every time you talk to anyone that lives around where there's rattlesnakes, every rattlesnake they see is a 6-footer. Yeah. Every time you talk to someone, this thing was at least 6 feet. Yeah, everything's 6 feet. And they're not that big. And it like surprised me when we started because everything that I was I was looking at them, I'm like, oh, that looks pretty short. And it ended up being a lot longer than I thought.
Or yeah. It's like, oh, that's almost legal.
Yeah. And then other people are like, "Oh, it's 6 feet all day long." I'm like, I
you
really
realize
don't.
The record is like 73 inches.
Yeah,
like
which is 6'1".
The world record.
Yeah. So odds are that everyone you see isn't that big. But yeah, you're right. Every time you see a rattlesnake, it's gonna make you jump, and you're probably gonna. It was a monster. It was huge.
We've handled, I think over the last 2 seasons, over 40 snakes, probably closer to 50.
Yeah.
And I can tell you at this point, I feel pretty confident. Like when somebody pulls a snake out from under a rock or somewhere, I can almost tell instantly if it's legal.
Yeah.
Once you've seen enough snakes, it's almost like there's a certain amount of girth it's going to have, or it needs to be like 42 plus.
Kind of like walleye fishing. Like after you've put hundreds of walleye in the cooler, you know as soon as you pull it out of the water if it's 15 inches or not.
Yeah.
Real quick side story. Went walleye fishing this morning, and same thing, had a walleye come in. I could feel on the rod it wasn't very big, and I actually, as it was bouncing across the top of the water, bringing it in, and I told my grandpa, I'm like, I don't think this one's legal. 14 and a half.
Yeah.
It was like...
Just shy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely get an eye for things when you do it every...
Enough,
when every summer you go walleye fishing, catch 100 walleye, and going and handling a bunch of snakes, you get a feel for it pretty quick, and as soon as you look at a snake, it's like, yeah, that one's not even worth measuring.
Yeah. So Tommy, you're kind of it was just me and Frank the first year. You got intrigued last year.
No, year before. I didn't make it out last year.
Oh, just the first trip me and Frank went on our own. Okay, so what I guess are your goals? We got you handling a few snakes. Do you have any goals for what you want to keep this year?
I'd like to catch a legal snake. I kind of want to eat one. It's a goal of mine.
Yeah, I'd really like to eat one.
What if we snake bites for the Whitecap Palooza?
That would be wild.
If I get one, because I don't plan on doing another full body mount. I want to do it just the
skin it.
I'll keep mine for the Palooza.
That'd be dope.
Do a little
I don't know how you cook a rattlesnake.
On the smoker.
Well, we're gonna try it. If we get more than one, we're gonna try it more than one different way.
I don't know how much meat you get off one either.
I don't know.
Depends on how big the snake is.
Well, obviously.
I think it's its knee.
Snake doesn't really have parts.
But yeah, I'd just like to catch a keeper. I'm not going to be too picky. If
it's for snake, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 42 is legal?
42
male,
and I think it has to have over 21 toaster strudels.
Yes.
Subcaudal scales.
Yeah. So if
it's
I
21
catch
or more.
Yeah.
a legal snake with just a decent rattle, not
in that 5,
2 or
6
3.
range.
Yeah, if it's got 4, 5, 6 rattles, yeah.
Coming home.
Yep. And I'd prefer a yellow phase, but if a black phase happens to be there first,
he's going down.
Yeah, he's getting put in the pillow bag.
Good. I'm excited this year.
Me too. We didn't really have a whole lot of time to get out
we only
at
went
all last year.
3 times last year.
Yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of time.
But part of that is it's a few hours.
Yeah, we don't live
there,
right where we can rattlesnake hunt.
Which I guess is a good transition to get into like where to find them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give you our secret location because we have a good little spot that only a few know about. But basically, I would say like if you start on the west side of Pennsylvania, St. Mary's is about like the line, I would say, is as far west as you're going to find them and about as far north. Basically, if you were to draw a line like a 90-degree angle east and south of St. Mary's, basically that box you would make in like the southeast corner of Pennsylvania, which is it's a pretty large portion of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That's where I would say you're safe to look for rattlesnakes in mountainous ranges in that area.
Yeah.
Starting what they say like above 1,000 foot.
I think like 1,500 is what is supposedly preferable for them, but if you don't have 1,500, then 1,000's gonna be. You know, it's if they're in your area, you don't necessarily have to find the preferred conditions. It's whatever's available to you.
I guess what we've noticed is on like hills and I guess mountains is what you would call them. The top third is it seems to where you'll start finding snakes.
Yeah. Regardless of elevation.
Yeah, exactly. Regardless of elevation, top third of the mountain is where you're going to find them because that's where they can get the most sun. We've found our best luck to be around like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. By the time noon hits, it's too damn hot and all the snakes go back under the rocks and dens and we just can't seem to find them.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't, for whatever reason, we have not done an evening hunt for them to see if they come back out. And that's maybe something I'd like to try this year. For whatever reason, we've kind of gotten our fix by lunchtime.
Yeah, and then we just kind of go have lunch and hang out and take a nap until dinner time, and then...
Yeah, because it is... it's exhausting. It's
you put some miles on, and it's tough terrain going up and down the mountains, so...
Yeah.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So obviously you guys have done this more than I have. Have you found any correlation as to what side of the mountain is best as far as like northeast, southwest facing side?
No, we actually, when we first started doing it, we thought that the south side would be better because of sun exposure. And that's what you hear with like most animals is that southern facing slopes are the ideal spot just because of sun. But we have not noticed that we found more on any side of a mountain as opposed to another. We've gone all around mountaintops and different times of days, and
I think that may have something to do with it. Like a south-facing slope may produce snakes earlier.
Yeah,
but I can't even say that we have that correlation either.
The only correlation that we've like really noticed is that we start finding them when the dew lifts. So I guess if you have a south-facing slope, like you just said, you might find them a little bit earlier because the sun's hitting it and it's lifting the dew a little faster.
I don't think there's more snakes there.
No.
Just like that's actually a good point that I don't think we've mentioned on here before. As soon as the dew lifts, it seems like that's
they
when
start
you're
coming.
seeing snakes.
Yeah.
I mean, the one time Frank and I walked, not realizing that was like a tip yet.
Yeah, it was literally the first time we went out.
We just went out, started at like 7 a.m. We hiked a couple miles without seeing shit. And literally as soon as that dew lifted, I think we caught 2 or 3 snakes within 200 yards. I mean, it was just like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
So...
And it wasn't until like, because every snake that we get, I mark on Onyx. I mark the time, what it was, how big it was, anything that we see and handle, I mark it. And it was after like our third trip, I was like looking at all of these waypoints and times, and I was like, that's when we made the correlation that it's when the dew is lifting is when we start finding them.
Well, they don't like to get wet, huh?
Yeah.
No. We found a couple like rock faces and stuff that were deeper in the timber, and those spots opened up later just because they had the shade from the trees. That one rocky area that you found, we got in there around that 9-10 a.m. and it took us an hour before we started seeing snakes.
Yeah.
So I guarantee we walk over a lot of rattlesnakes that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Just because we're there too early, and then even too late as the day's finishing up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So I guess to hit on real briefly, like where we're looking and to help Dan avoid them. I don't know if you've got dogs or what, why you're trying to avoid snakes, or just because they're
Some people
venomous.
just don't like messing with snakes.
I respect that. Don't agree with it, but I respect it. Basically, I would stay out of high weeds that you can't see your feet. That's a definite. If you're trying to avoid contact with snakes, make sure you can see your feet at all times. And trails are not safe. Basically, we see a lot of snakes right on trails.
Yeah, and the Gaswell roadways and stuff. That's where we find the majority of them is along those roadways,
and stuff.
those dirt roads.
And hell, we found one right on a highway.
Yeah,
big one actually, the one your dad kept.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do, I would say, is stay in areas that you can see your feet and you can see a distance in front of you, and just be aware of where you're at. And elevation, that's another big thing. Like, stay away from high elevations at 10, 11 o'clock.
If you're gonna go do it in the heat of the day, which isn't always ideal to go walking around in the heat of the day, but
no.
If you're trying to avoid snakes, that would be the time to do it.
To help ease your mind a little bit, the timber rattlers are fairly docile when it comes to rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Now, we've had a few aggressive ones that...
Only like 2 or 3,
yeah,
though.
the one I kept was extremely aggressive.
He was just about to shed, though, wasn't he?
No, he just ate.
Oh, he just ate.
Yeah, he had like a squirrel-sized lump in him. He was not happy.
Yeah, and even some of the ones that we found that were shedding and had their glazed eyes, they're a little bit more aggressive, and I shouldn't even say aggressive. They're more weary. They're shiftier. They're just trying to figure out what's going on.
They can't see as well.
Yeah, they're not like super willing to strike, but they're just paying more attention, I would say, just because they can't see as well because they're about to shed. But if they're not about to shed and they haven't eaten, they're very laid back.
Yeah, from what I've noticed, you almost would have to try to get bit.
Yeah.
Like, you really got to push their buttons
Yeah,
to get them to strike.
The first time, Frank and I were trying to get a video of one striking a camera, and we're both surprised at how hard it was to get it to bite, just because, like, we figured it's a rattlesnake. Everyone's taught me that rattlesnakes are mean, they're aggressive, and it turns out, like, timber rattlers are not as aggressive as I would have expected. They're still a wild animal and unpredictable, so don't ever put your hands in a position, like, don't ever put yourself in a position where you're not aware of what's going on with that snake, because he is wild and can bite at any time.
Yeah.
But if you're wearing the proper protection on your legs, you're using snake tongs, you should be okay.
Yeah. And even if you're just like walking, I would say if you aren't looking and like trying to find a snake, if you're just like walking at a normal pace, hiking through the woods, odds are that snake's going to let you walk right by and won't even rattle.
Yeah. Because we've noticed that a snake, for us anyway, they don't rattle until they're close enough to strike. Like, that's kind of like, it's what I've noticed anyway.
Yeah.
Is you'll be walking, if you hear a rattle, it's 9 times out of 10,
you can reach
range.
it. Yeah.
They're in range to strike.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, 1.5 times their length?
No, half their length.
Half their length?
Yeah. At most is half their length.
Which is still, it's still a couple feet.
Yeah.
That's a good strike.
Yeah. But like their first defense mechanism is their camouflage. So if you're walking,
works, and you don't stop, they're probably going to let you walk right on by.
Yeah, and you would never even know that it was there. Yeah. And then, if you're right on top of them, they'll rattle. But their very last thing is going to be to strike. You're going to have plenty of time to realize what's going on. I shouldn't say you will, because there's always that outlier that you never know what's going to happen, but for the most part, you're going to have ample time to know what's going on.
Yeah.
From what I've read and understood, it takes a tremendous amount of energy for these rattlesnakes to create their venom.
Mm-hmm.
So they know when they see a human that they are way too big to actually even eat.
Yeah.
So they don't want to waste their venom on something that they can't eat. So they're not going to bite unless it's, like Frank said, a last resort.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times.
And even if they do bite, what is
Sometimes
it,
it's a dry
50% is a dry bite?
Yeah.
You still need to get to a hospital.
Yeah.
I can't. Even if there's no venom, I would imagine it hurts like hell.
Yeah.
And they say actually it's the young ones that you got to be
more
even more
dangerous,
careful about,
They don't know how to control how much venom.
Adult rattlesnake knows how much venom it needs to pump into something to kill it or neutralize the threat. And the adolescent rattlesnakes, they don't know that. So when they bite you, they dump all
Everything.
of their venom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll put way more than required.
Yeah. And that's another, like, for Dan, for locating them and stuff, like, if you're going on like a late morning hike, that 9 to 11, they're going to be sitting like on top of rocks somewhere where they're in sunlight.
Yeah.
If there's sun shining where you're walking, there's potential that there could be snakes. Once you hit high noon till about 3-4 o'clock, they're going to be tucked under shade to stay cool. They're cold-blooded animals, so they're trying to regulate their body temperature. So just keep that in mind while hiking at certain times of the day where they'll likely be. So, but I would say, I mean, if you don't bother them, they're likely not going to bother you.
Yeah.
And I would say you're pretty safe.
Yeah. And even if you do bother them, you're still pretty safe.
Yeah, we've handled quite a few. I enjoy it. I've noticed once you get them in the tube, they pretty much are cool with you handling them, checking them out, and then most of them don't even just take off when you let them go.
No.
They pretty much just chill there, like, oh, you're not a threat to me. You let me go. This isn't so bad. Basically, is what it
usually
seems
they'll
like.
just rattle and kind of sit right where you let them go. They won't do anything. And a lot of time when you have them in your hand and in the tube, they don't even rattle or do anything. They just sit there. They don't care at that point. They know you're not hurting them, so they just kind of cool out.
Yeah, even though, like, when I put that snake in my backpack, he hardly rattled at all in my backpack. Now, when I would take him and set him on the ground, he would rattle. But riding around in my backpack, he had no problem. Yeah. Which, that probably sounds crazy to some people that I kept a
live snake on your back.
Rattlesnake just in my back. Jared thought I was nuts. But I don't know. I think he transported his outside his backpack when he kept his.
Well, when he caught his...
oh, that's right. We were right on the road.
Yeah, we were like right on the road, so he just like threw it right in the bed of the truck and never had to put it in his backpack.
Yeah, it was like we were actually leaving. We had already done our snake hunting.
We
in that area.
like just got done talking to some park rangers.
That's another thing I noticed. The park rangers and the workers on the mountains that we're on, a lot of them say, "Yeah, we don't really see snakes around here much." And then we go up there and see a ton.
Yeah, it seems like they don't really. They're not looking for them.
The first snake you and I found, guy was like, "Oh, haven't seen one of those in years." And I was like, "Well, I mean, how often do you look?" And he's like, "I watch every step I take."
Yeah.
And so me and Frank were like, "Damn it! Like, I guess this is just like a rare occurrence on this hill that we're at." And then like 100 yards up, I found one, and then Frank found another one like another 50 yards up. So it was like, okay, so that guy doesn't watch every step.
Yeah.
But like I said, we were going. If that guy was staying in a certain area, me and Frank stepped off the trail a little bit to some rock piles, and that's where they were. Yeah. So it's just about knowing where they like to be. Yeah. I've also noticed we have repeat offenders. Snakes that we find in a certain area come back weeks later, and there's another snake in that area.
Yeah, it might not be the same snake. But
yeah, but I guess
the
what I'm getting
areas
at is if you are out trail hiking around your camp or something and see a snake, it's probably because that's a prime location for a snake to be. And if you really hate being around snakes, avoid that location or approach that area with caution because there's a good chance that a snake will be there again.
Yeah, most animals are like that. If you find a good spot for
deer,
if you see
anything.
big bucks in this spot every year, even if you kill the biggest one that's there this year, The next year, another one's going to move in, and another one's going to move in. And it's the same way with snakes. If this is a prime spot that you're finding snakes, you're going to continue to find them there.
Yeah.
So, like you said, if you find them there once and you don't want to be near them, avoid that spot because they're going to be back.
Or, like I said, if it's your camp and you've got your favorite hiking trail or something and you notice there's a snake there, just approach it with caution.
Yeah.
Because there's a good chance that they're around. Now, I think it said male snake during like mating season will travel up to 5 miles, which I thought was insane for an animal with no legs.
Yeah.
Will travel 5 miles to mate. So finding a snake does not necessarily mean that there's a den around or anything.
Yeah.
If you find a large collection of snakes, there's probably a den very close by, and it's best to avoid it. But a snake will travel 5 miles looking for a mate, up to 5 miles.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, that it does, just because you find one snake does not mean you're in a heavily populated area. He could just be traveling looking for his snake lady. So, you all right over there?
Yeah, my bad. It was
other
like one of those hiccup burps. I was trying to hold it down. It was weird.
Other than that, to wrap this up, I do want to talk briefly about obtaining a permit for it, because that's one question I get all the time about how to get it. And I've even had buddies that are interested in snake hunting that went to get it and couldn't. And so I want to briefly, to end this podcast, I want to talk about how to get your snake permit. Just if you're interested, if this has intrigued you to go out and hunt for snakes, this is what you got to do. First off, you got to go anywhere that sells your hunting license or fishing licenses. You have to have a valid fishing license or be buying a valid fishing license at the time.
Yeah, you can buy it together.
Yeah, you can buy it at the same time, but you need the fishing license. It's like a stamp, basically. When you go through, there's like boxes to check under your fishing license, and one of them is a venomous snake permit. Now, because for whatever reason, we're in Erie, PA, like the northwest part of Pennsylvania, and we don't have rattlesnakes up here. So every shop I go to tends to tell me that they don't have snake permits, which is not true.
Yeah, if they have a fishing license, they have the snake permit.
So they basically, once you tell them no, it's under fishing, they go scroll down a little bit and they're like, oh, there it is. I didn't even know we sold that. And then it goes, why in the world would you want that?
Yeah, it's usually not a short conversation when you're trying to buy a snake permit.
Yeah, especially up by us that we just don't have rattlesnakes. And then when you tell them that you're doing it in Pennsylvania, they get freaked out, not realizing that there's rattlesnakes in Pennsylvania.
We should just start telling them we have them all over the area. Like, we hunt like 5 miles from here, catch them all the time.
Most of them I find are right out in the parking lot here.
And even like the population is great enough to have a hunting season for them. Like they're protected, but they're trying to regulate the amount. Like they're trying to regulate the population. That's why you can only have one per year, and it's got to be a certain size. But anyway, so you go there, you get your fishing license, you scroll down, there's a venomous snake permit. Your venomous snake permit goes for your copperhead, and then you get an additional tag for a timber rattlesnake, and that one is the one that gets recorded with. So it'll
Basically
have
like an ear tag.
Yeah, it's like an ear tag essentially. It's got to be a male. It has to have 21 or more subcaudal scales. They want to know how many rattles and what color phase. Your permit, your venomous snake permit, is for a copperhead, and copperheads don't have any identifying factors for male or female. And because they're so aggressive, there's no size requirement. If you can handle one, you can legally keep it.
But you can only keep one.
Yeah, one. So they're considerably smaller than rattlesnakes.
Yeah, a lot.
Pencily, they're not super. Like rattlesnakes are short and fat in reference to like copperheads are kind of long and real skinny and apparently aggressive. I have not seen them yet.
I've heard that. I've never handled one.
And they don't have a rattle, so they don't let you know that you're too close. So, other than that, I hope that this inspired some people to go out snake hunting, because I think it's an experience that anyone in Pennsylvania should take advantage of at least once. Just, I feel like every state has something that's a little bit unique, and I think snake hunting, is a little bit unique for Pennsylvania. There's other states that do it, but you don't really hear about them hunting. There's no seasons for them.
Yeah, most places like down south where there's timber or not timbers, like diamondbacks. It's if you kill one or see one, kill it. Like they don't give a shit about it.
This is like a highly regulated season. They want to know this is another thing. If you purchase a license, you have to report back to the state at the end of the season how many snakes you handled,
Even if it's zero.
Even if it's zero, you have to turn in a form. That it's part of the whole permit. Is it's because they're so regulated. They want to know everything they can. If you like, so take it seriously. If you're gonna snake hunt, help conservation in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and they have forms that literally have a bunch of boxes that you can fill out.
Now, I think they finally switched to online. You can do it, but the first couple of years we did it,
you
was
have to
paper.
mail it. Yeah,
and they would move to offices, and it was like a huge pain because I got a letter in the mail after I already
Me
sent.
too.
I got a letter in saying, "Hey, we didn't receive your info. If you don't, like,
you can't get one next year."
And I called immediately, and I was like, "Hey, I sent the form. If you need me to send it again, I will." And they're like, "Oh no, like we switched offices, so there's a lot of miscommunication." But
That
I
happened
think-
with me and Dad because we're both Frank Myers. I'm the third,
Yeah.
he's the fourth, or other way around. I'm the fourth, he's the third. And
Mom's your dad.
they
your dad's
had
brother.
they had my information and his information under his name.
Oh.
So I got a letter too saying I didn't do it, and I called him. I was like, "Hey, I definitely sent this in." And they started looking at the girl like literally had a file with the mailed in paper. She happened to be in the office that got my paper, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I have it right here." They must have just put it all under the one name. So
Gotcha.
sometimes you will get a letter because they don't have
well,
it.
that's just to let you, like, it is, when I say highly regulated, it is highly, highly regulated. Like,
Yeah, they want to
it's
know
not-
everything.
It's not like a select few people. We had, 4 guys, and everybody was getting letters if they didn't have all their paperwork done right. So if you're gonna snake hunt, do your part with conservation. Fill out the forms and help keep the population at its
Yeah.
max. So
And it helps them because they literally ask for like lats and lawns of the snakes that you found because they try to like locate dens off of it, off of the information that you give them, so they know. Because a lot of times where you're doing it, there's a lot of gas wells and stuff like that, and they will literally divert gas wells and roads around dens because of the information that you get, that they get from you when you catch these snakes.
yeah, so you're really helping the population. Even if you, like our buddy John Royer, he hasn't kept a snake in a couple years, but he still goes every year to handle them because he enjoys it, and is putting his part in for conservation and helping the population. So just because you get a permit doesn't mean you have to keep one. You can just go out there and help handle snakes, locate where they're at to help prevent roadways and gas wells being used and tearing up dens and snake traffic, if you will.
Yeah.
They have like snake advocates on job sites where they'll shut production down if snakes are in the middle of the roadway and they can't cross. Like
We ran into a guy, was it last year?
Yeah, last year.
That's literally what he was doing, was just walking up and down the roads, and he talked to us for a while just because we were snake hunting, and his sole job working for the gas company was finding rattlesnakes, finding dens, and telling them where they can go.
Yeah, like if they find a den that's in the middle of where they're supposed to go, they are going to go around it. If snakes are on the middle of the pad, they will shut production down because they do not want snakes unlawfully being killed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's definitely a very cool thing to get into just on the conservation half of it, because most things, like a lot of people don't take like whitetail report cards seriously. Like they just kind of, oh, I shot a doe or I shot a buck. Most people don't fill out the report card and mail it in. With the rattlesnakes, if you don't turn it in, they're getting a hold of you.
yeah, they come back to you.
Yeah, it's not like if you buy a doe permit, you don't have to call and say, "Hey, I didn't get one" or whatever. They're kind of lax on that, but with snakes, they don't play games.
And it's another snake season's another. It's another season that kind of takes the edge off because all of us prefer our whitetail hunting. That's kind of our bread and butter. But turkey season, muzzleloader ended a couple months ago. You're starting to get that itch again. And then you get turkey hunting, and it's like, okay, that itch is scratched a little bit. You can chill out. And then, a month later, you start to get that itch again. Snake opens up, and then it's like, all right, I can go out, get out in the outdoors and hunt for some snakes, and that lasts for a couple months. And
Get
then
you just about.
Next thing you know, it's August, and now you're scouting, you're setting stands, and you're like it's like spaced perfectly to just take that edge off.
Yeah, you're as soon as you're hungry again, the next thing starts.
So, but thanks again for listening. Hopefully we'll have some updates throughout the next couple weeks on some big old snakes.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage anyone that's not terrified of snakes, or if you're terrified of snakes, use it to get over your fear.
Mm-hmm.
To go out there and get a license.
Just go
hunt.
with someone that knows what they're doing.
Yeah. So get out there and hunt snakes, and if you're not going to hunt snakes, at least make sure you're getting outside.